I hope that a few of you can make it. If you are seeing this afterwards, please just maybe leave a comment. Ryan is in Scotland. Dr. Ryan Hecker will teach a course on spiritual cybernetics, which begins in exactly 1 week, July 23rd. And I'm taking here the opportunity to address the course and a couple of questions that we've received while Ryan is gone. I think he's back on Thursday, so on Friday we're going live again to discuss his paper, his ideas for a via digitalis, a digital way, and his notion of the hyper digital. And in the meantime, I'll just be going over the course and also some of the questions we received, but also some of the ideas behind cybernetics. And I'd like to begin with a quote from good old Martin Heidegger. In his talk, The End of Philosophy and the Task of Thinking, Heidegger writes the following: no prophecy is necessary to recognize that the sciences now establishing themselves will soon be determined and guided by the new fundamental science, which is called cybernetics. This science corresponds to the determination of man as an acting social being, for it is a theory of the steering of the possible planning and arrangement of human labor. Cybernetics transforms language into an exchange of news. The arts become regulating instruments of information. And Heidegger sees at the fundamental movement of Western thought, he would not be one to defend the so-called Occident just so. He sees at the core, at the root of this, Plato. Plato is, let's not say to blame, but we can point to Plato as one of the originators of what is now cybernetics, the control mechanism by which the planet is steered. And hence Heidegger sees that philosophy is coming to an end, but not in the sense of it demising or perishing or just simply ending, but philosophy is finding its, as he says in this essay or in this talk, it's finding its place. This is what it was from the beginning. Philosophy qua metaphysics was determined from the beginning, and Plato is actually quite explicit about this also in The Statesman and in the Politeia, the so-called Republic, that it is indeed about steering and controlling in a certain way a polis, or by extension now planet Earth. And Heidegger, though, sees that as philosophy collapses into the pure mechanism of this, and the pure functionality, which Plato would not have, of course, advocated for, Heidegger sees here still a distinct task for a new way of thinking and another beginning. So one of the authors will be discussing it. The course that starts next week is, of course, also Martin Heidegger. And let me know if you have questions on the course. Let me know now in the chat, and I'll try and respond as best I can. I'm not teaching the course. I'm just offering the course at my Halcyon Academy, which I founded in the fateful year of 2020, and which is now in its 4th year and has been growing well, I would say. Just for anyone who's new here, my work that is public, for the most part, is funded completely by anyone who supports me here, and also of course, by you enrolling in my courses. So if you'd like to not only learn about our age, but also contribute to the work here, then the best way to do so is by enrolling in one of the courses. Now, Ryan will teach the course. I think one of the main questions for Ryan is how we can stay, just to simplify this, how we can stay free human beings through the digital revolution, which he sees is one of the most fundamental, if not the most fundamental, technical revolutions, transformations in human history. And Ryan, he's got it. So he, just by way of introduction, Ryan's got a PhD in theology from Cambridge. He's now off to Austin, Texas, where he's taking up position as a professor in theology sometime next year, I think. Ryan has been trying to articulate ways of understanding the digital that aren't fully doom and gloom. So this course addresses these issues, but also goes back to Kant and Hegel, which is the first lecture. Maybe I'll just show you what it looks like on the inside. Just one second. So Kant and Hegel are the first ones, the first thinkers we'll discuss. So that's what it looks like on the inside. This is on Kant and Hegel, the first one. Second one on Ernst Jünger and Martin Heidegger. Third one on Baudrillard and McLuhan. Lecture number 4 on Nick Land and Deleuze. And the fifth lecture on Bernhard Stiegler for the most part, and also Byung-Chul Han. That's actually two thinkers that I got a couple of requests, especially for Stiegler, if we could offer something on Stiegler. So here we are. I hope that the people who have requested Stiegler will actually now also take the course. So any questions that you have, I'll get to towards the end. And if you know anyone who's interested in this in this way of thinking, just maybe share the link with them now or later. Let me also just show you what the course actually is like. That's a good question here. I'll get to this in a second. So I'll just maybe explain how it works. So this will not be made public. I think there's always a bit of confusion. This is not anything that will be on YouTube. This is behind a paywall, so you have to enroll. There's a couple of different ways that you can take this course. You can just learn at your own pace, enroll in a self-study. And as I said, every single enrollment supports the work here. You get these 5 exclusive video lectures by Ryan and some reading excerpts, etc. Of course, you get access for all eternity, or however long this platform will actually exist. Who knows? Or you could join us next week, Sunday, when we begin with the group seminars. The link to enroll is this one. And we're meeting 6 times. Ryan leads the seminars. I might be coming to a couple of them, at least the first 2 or so. I'll be there. So we're meeting the first time July 23rd, and the final one is August 27th. We're always meeting from 6 to 8 p.m. UK time, or 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are in the Western Hemisphere, you should be able to make it. So we've had people from all across Europe and Northern America. Usually that's where people come from. The final seminars where you can present your own talk. And that might actually be made available on YouTube if you agree to have it published. So you can take group seminars. Ryan leads them. It's a great way to learn and meet the others. So that's all over here. Again, the thinkers will discuss Kant and Hegel, mostly Hegel in the first one, then Heidegger and Jünger. After that, Nick Land and Deleuze, Baudrillard and McLuhan, and finally Stiegler, and a bit of Byung-Chul Han on the burnout society. So let me perhaps also just point out some of the questions that we got on this course is, so are there any prerequisites for the course? There aren't any. If you have a sincere interest in the philosophy of technology, then this course is for you. If you have not read anything, but you've just been listening to some of the videos here and that speaks to you, I think that should be good enough. If you wanted to take it a step further in your studies, then a course is probably best. Now, another question that we got is, if you don't have time for the seminars and you just pick the self-study option, that's the best thing to do. You can study in your own time. Obviously, with the seminars, you also get access to the also to the lectures, to say the obvious. So if you have any creative project that considers any of the thinkers or any of the ideas that we discuss, then it's that course, especially the seminars or even the philosophical dialogue with Ryan private tutorials, will actually really help you develop that project further. So that might be a good idea. The seminars are run by Dr. Ryan Hacker, to introduce him properly. And the seminars are, well, to what they're like. To quote one of my students, the seminars are all the university should have been, but wasn't. We meet as a group of peers in a trusting and open environment. You won't be marked, you won't be graded. There is no, you can write something and we'll give you, quote unquote, the cybernetic term, feedback, but there's no marking, and there's no accreditation. So that already changes the reason why you're there. You are not there for any external instrumental reason. The people who show up purely and solely for the sake of understanding who we are. So let me get now to I need to go back to this. Is Heidegger the key thinker on technology, its implications for the human, solely because of his profound critique of Nietzsche? I think you would have to say more. No. But the first response is no. I mean, Heidegger is one of the last last, but also first in some sense, European thinkers who can actually read the ancient Greek and translate it really well, to a degree that he revolutionized philology, which he's very rarely credited for, of course. And he is such a profoundly important thinker when it comes to technology. Let's just look at this maybe from the outside. He's born in 1889. He sees the tremendous shifts. So he's born, there's no television, there's no radio. There is already, of course, the burgeoning Industrial Revolution, but there's nothing on the scale of what then comes to pass in the decades of his life, which would include, of course, also the nuclear bomb. At the same time, you have here someone who can relate this back, not just to Nietzsche, but to the entirety, prick up your ears, of so-called Occidental thought, the Occidental thought movement. Which is why he sees that Plato was after, in some sense, is now fulfilling itself in Norbert Wiener's, and we may never know what really the connection is between Wiener and Plato, or maybe we will at some point, because I think part of the digital revolution is that certain things will necessarily be revealed that were hitherto unseen, or not even visible, not even seeable to begin with. And because we're looking, in some sense, in the mirror of our past. So with Heidegger, you find not just someone who has a certain critique of some thinker, but someone who's capable of tying together the entire thought movement to a degree that someone like Hegel perhaps could not yet. I might leave it at that for now. I disagree with Ryan, for example, in the sense that I don't think that Heidegger is a sort of a tragic doomsayer about technology. I think he has a very clear, this is what Ryan will argue for in the course, which is fine, but I think that he has a very clear vision and understanding of its origin at the very root of what has come to be Occidental metaphysics, which also is globalizing and colonizing the world, or in a sense, without its roots, and hence perhaps could lead to unforeseen unforeseen consequences. So I've mentioned all the thinkers. So I that we'll be discussing. I'll mention them again: Kant, Heidegger, Ernst Jünger, Hegel, Marshall McLuhan, Jean Baudrillard, Nick Land and Deleuze, Bernard Stiegler, Norbert Wiener, I should have mentioned also, Ernst Kapp to a certain degree, and also Byung-Chul Han. Those are the ones who will be mentioned. And if there are any more questions specifically on the course, let me know now. I'll be happy to answer them. If you want to enroll, then the link to do so is in the description of this video, but it's also in the chat here. By the way, I also have one of these hideous QR codes here. So if you'd like to scan that in, that actually takes you straight to the seminars. So I'll just explain this again. You can just enroll in the course and learn you can read up on everything. We were publishing a couple of the excerpts from the readings, and you can listen to Ryan's lectures. You can also listen to the seminar recordings once they're out, or you join us next week for 6 Sundays, and that's how you spend your August, basically, your summer with us, and try and figure out what the hell is going on. So, no, we won't discuss anything regarding mental health. This is a philosophy course. Philosophy has nothing. So, by the way, mental health is a very strange word. Mental health means just mental health, right? It's not mental health problems. That's one of these weird misnomers by which we destroy the world by misnaming phenomena. Mental health should mean what it means, which is mental health, Gesundheit, and like strong, good health. And philosophy has really absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with mental health. It's absolutely nothing to do with it. It's not psychology. It's not psychiatry. It's not therapy. It is really, really, really only philosophy. And it's very important to make that distinction. I think sometimes people come because they're looking for something. They come to philosophy, and there's something still burning, but you may burn yourself. So if anyone with any sort of so-called mental health issues should really that's a thing for therapy and not for philosophy. So what pre-reading? Yeah, that's a good question. So what kind of pre-reading? I'll try and answer that. Well, I think what you could do if you're unsure whether to take this course, what I think you should do is maybe just type in Martin Heidegger, The End of Philosophy PDF. You'll find you can download it. It's freely available on so many different just WordPress pages. That might be a good place to start. You could read Bernard Stiegler if you're interested in Bernard Stiegler. You could read beyond any thinker basically that we'll be discussing. So, for example, Bernard Stiegler's Techniques and Time, or Byung-Chul Han, The Burnout Society. That's some of the texts that we'll be discussing. So you could just start there, or Ernst Jünger, The Worker. And once you get into sort of this way of reading, and maybe you have read parts of those texts anyways, so there will be some texts that are really difficult. For example, Hegel and Kant right at the beginning, extremely difficult, yes. But then with Heidegger, and especially with Jünger, it gets more approachable. Once we get to especially like Byung-Chul Han or Stiegler is really just not too difficult at all. What Stiegler points out is, which Stiegler will turn in the course to myth, to his mythic reinterpretation of or articulation of technology, the myth of Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus, who is so just maybe just briefly, the two titans, the two Titan brothers, Prometheus and Epimetheus. Prometheus means foresight. Epimetheus means afterthought. So Epimetheus, I'll summarize and simplify, you will forgive me. Epimetheus forgets to provide the human being with a positive trait or a positive attribute. All the other animals receive, for example, birds, learn how to fly, etc. The human being, hence, is considered a being of lack. Yeah, and in terms of lack, and it's usually that part is usually forgotten, but it is precisely this lack, according to Stiegler, that actually drives the human being to fulfill the Promethean promise, which is to create the world in the image of the human being. Now, I'm not myself, obviously, anywhere near Prometheus. Ryan maybe, that's fine. And I also don't, there are people out there who claim that Heidegger's last god is Prometheus. That's pretty far from the truth, I would say. But it's still, it's not irrelevant to begin to see technology also in a mythic way. Ernst Jünger, for example, believed or thought the technical age should be the age of the Titans. Now, quite different from Stiegler, perhaps, I don't know. But in a sense, the Titans, to which the two brothers Prometheus and Epimetheus would belong, are, well, they usually mean disorder and disarray. It is only with the Olympian gods, when they conquer the Titans, that order is restored in heaven and on the earth. So perhaps the quest is, to put it in those terms, to become Olympian again. And now to go out on a limb and be ridiculously speculative. If you remember, the Titan, which wasn't a submarine, obviously, but was a submersible and imploded, fittingly called the Titan. And it imploded, perhaps presumably also because the material that was used was completely not fit for purpose. I've forgotten now what it was. If anyone can remind me. By the way, if you have more questions on anything regarding the course, or let's say Heidegger, Ernst Jünger, etc., let me know. We're starting next week. So this this submersible, again, fittingly called the Titan, after the Titanic, also sank and imploded. And maybe that is, as I said, that's ridiculously speculative, but perhaps that is a sign of the time that innovation has become so uprooted and idiotic, so-called innovation, that well, it is at a dead end. Perhaps also, maybe it is really more than 100 years than the sinking of the original Titanic. Also, another sign. By the way, there was a ship at the same time that was called the Olympia, or the Olympian, if I'm not mistaken, which didn't sink and which was almost as big as the RMS Olympic. Yeah, just looking this up. Yeah, it had a career spanning 24 years. So maybe not quite as big as the Titanic, I'm not sure, but almost as big. Maybe that's a sign. Who knows? So yeah, if there are any questions, please let me know. We can discuss many things. Mostly maybe the course. But again, there are no prerequisites. The prerequisites, you don't have to have studied philosophy. You don't have to have studied anything. You need to, but you need to be able to read text. I mean, people take different things from this. Some people come in, they read the text, they want to go line by line through the text. That's fine. Others come when they join the seminars because there's a way of something that they hear that they wouldn't hear anywhere else, and it's not even necessary to be able. So we don't want you to be able to regurgitate the concepts. We don't want you to regurgitate the every single fancy academic word. No, we want you to come, and either by listening or by saying something that comes from the heart, you're contributing to the seminar. This isn't school. I mean, one of the worst accesses or things about a university now is the students, because they want information and they want to be able to regurgitate easily graspable concepts very quickly. And what we're trying to teach is a way of thinking, so that perhaps you begin to see the world and our time anew, because we are, as I keep mentioning, we are the first full-on digital generation. And to say the obvious, I'm trying to build uh, a digital first institution of learning. Who knows where this leads? So here's a juicy question. I'll just say this on transhumanism briefly, which of course, both these things are deeply, deeply connected. Well, transhumanism is, if you look at the people who write on this, Ray Kurzweil and a few others, and maybe Harari, especially with Kurzweil, what you can see is a neo-Christian theory of salvation that very deeply addresses the secularized Christian liberal soul. So that's what this is. That's the people who this is written for. And so it promises, technical salvation in the cloud. I mean, there's no difference between the story that your soul will magically rise to heaven or you being uploaded to the Google Cloud or whichever cloud there might be. There's no difference. It's just a retelling of the story. So that should be obvious. So that is a certain, whether or not this actually has any impact beyond the fancy of some people in Silicon Valley, I have no idea. I think basically that most of, I'm not even sure that there's that much of transhumanism still being promoted. It seemed that there was a time when this was bigger, there was more of an attempt to push this down people's throats. This has been around for more than a decade in the public mind. So, and obviously this is connected. That there is an attempt, to say the least, to disrupt what it means to be human, and that, of course, also has to do with digital technology, etc. So, yeah, there's a connection. And if you come to the course, then this is something that we should also discuss. The fluidity of the digital sphere, of course, invites a certain attempt at self-manipulation. And if you play what are they called? I forgot what these games are called, where you can basically generate your own, if you want to be a pink-haired elf with 3 arms, then you can put it together. So that I think that obviously does change how we understand what it means to be human. So yeah, I would perhaps yeah. I mean, speaking of mental health, that's obviously just complete insanity. But hence the question is really, how do we stay human, and what do we mean by human? That is a crucial question. And I think that will be addressed, not by me, because I don't teach the course, but by Ryan, and we'll see what he comes up with. So I'll just mention, maybe I'll show you this again. Harari says many things. There's someone here just pointing out we are the last generation of humans. You always have to, like, when you hear something like this, you always have to, these are code words. You don't take it as a literal. Never take any of this in a literal sense. This is all allegorical speak. So make sure you understand what they're really saying. I'll just show you this again. If you want to enroll in the course, this is the enrollment page. And we are beginning the live group seminars over Zoom, so we'll actually see each other. Next week, Sunday, we're meeting 6 times in a row. For Americans, this is from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I think is 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Or if you're in Europe, 6 to 8 p.m. UK time, which is 7 to 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, I think it is. Is it Central European time, whatever. So you would have to enroll in the group seminars or higher if you want to take private tutorials with Dr. Ryan Recker. And again, this is how we can keep the lights on. Ryan also, even though he's a very lofty, beautiful mind, he also has to eat. We are still earthbound, even if Ray Kurzweil thinks otherwise. So you could also have, if you don't have time for the seminars, you still want to learn more about this, and you'd like to support the work here, you could just enroll here in the self-study tier. You have access for everything. You don't have to do this in 6 weeks. You can do this over a year. You can do this in 2 days, and then come back to it again and again and again. So this is it. Let me just maybe link to this again. Here's the link. Sorry, here's the link to enroll. I hope you can make it to the course. Inside the course, it looks like this. Here we are. Maybe I'll just show you what one of the lectures looks like. Here he is. So this is what it looks like. Or maybe I turn on the... I don't know if you can hear them actually, but we'll find out.
An assistant professor of theology at the University of Austin, a research fellow at the American Academy of Rome, and an associate fellow of the William Tibble Foundation. My background is as a theologian. I graduated with a PhD.
Okay, so this is the video file, and there's an audio file too that you can listen to. We list all the readings, and then we also have excerpts of the readings, so that should all be there for you. You can just start as soon as you enroll. You can get started. All the lectures have been uploaded, so you can see here. Second one.
Welcome back to...
Ryan actually recorded them here a couple of weeks ago at my Halcyon sanctuary. It was a very long day for both of us, because I did all the editing while he was recording. And he braved through hours and hours and hours of speaking and lecturing, so that we have the best quality in terms of video and audio. That's why I wanted to have him here to do this at my house. Yeah, so if there are more questions, let me know on this course or anything else. Maybe you'd like to know more about the work in general. If you'd like to you could just also share this link this video with anyone interested. If you're seeing this later, even who you might know, who might be interested, maybe share the link also of the course with them. We have an entire week, so there's enough time to enroll. We're probably... So here's a question by Old Hollywood Briar. Do you teach the courses too? I do teach courses. So just to say this again, I founded the Halcyon Guild and Academy in the year of Destiny 2020. So we're in our fourth year, and I teach usually about 1 to 2 courses per year. So this year I taught Heidegger's Being in Time for 10 weeks, and I taught a seminar. I gave a seminar on a weekend seminar on Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. That was in April, I think. We've since offered our Hegel masterclass and the Philosophy of the Machine, which have both ended. We're currently offering Beyond Nihilism by John Vervaeke. And now in summer, it's Ryan Hecker's Spiritual Cybernetics, which begins next week. And in the autumn, sometime in October, we're offering a course not taught by me, but by Dr. Sebastian Ostrich. He's written many books. Actually, he wrote a book on video games, and he also wrote this great Hegel book. So Sebastian will teach a course on Oswald Spengler's The Decline of the West, a book which is taught in Italy, but isn't taught in many places. So we'd like to fill this gap and offer a course on this fundamental book, which is often shunned for certain reasons that very often are, of course, political. People are scared of the book or whatever they are. We aren't. So you should come to that one too if you're interested in what Spengler thinks the West has still in store for itself, or if it has anything neat. So yeah, and all courses are continuously open to enroll in, but not the seminars. So we cannot guarantee that Ryan will actually teach this. I cannot guarantee that Ryan will teach this course again. What will remain open, at least for some time, is the self-enrollment option. I'm just trying to find the right page to send to you. So if you'd like to see the entirety of the course library, this is this one. I hope the link works. So we cannot guarantee, because Ryan is off to Texas sometime next year. He's off to Rome in October, and then next year he's taking a position in Texas at a university. So I don't know whether he will be able to offer this course again, time-wise. So if you'd like to take the seminars, this is it. We don't know. You may be able to, and again, as I said before, if you'd like to support the work, this is the way to do it. So there's a course that I have on leisure, one on Heidegger and death, one on Nietzsche, one on German idealism. If you're interested in Hegel, there's one on German idealism. There's one on Heidegger on technology, one on Hegel's phenomenology of spirit. That's by Philip Niklas. Another one on being in time, Heidegger's Being in Time. That's mine. The Philosophy of the Machine by Sean McFadden, who's currently a stipendiate with the Max Planck Institute. There's Beyond Nihilism by John Vervaeke, and of course, Spiritual Cybernetics by Ryan Hecker. Next year, there will be more courses on Greek philosophy. Beginning in January, I'm going to Athens in the fall to record the lectures, Plato and Aristotle. So that's next year will be a long, full Greek year, and with a couple more people also teaching other foundational texts by the ancients. I might go back to teaching my early Greek philosophy course. I've not been able to offer that in more than 2 years now. So you see, it's we're trying to have a few courses every year, but we cannot offer every course every year again. So if you'd like to be there with the seminars, especially now with this one, because I mean, with for Ryan's spiritual cybernetics, then this may be the time to do so. If you'd like to, here's the QR code. Fittingly, you can, if you like, you can scan it. It takes you straight to the enrollment page for the seminars. Again, the seminars are led by Dr. Ryan Hecker. I will be there. I think I'll be there for the first one and probably for the second one also. But then I will probably not join anymore, because and also I'll be very much in the background, so I'm not really participating in the seminars. I just listen and take notes and make sure perhaps that everything works and that everything's going well. But I'm not teaching this one. Ryan's teaching this one, and I'll be teaching again only next year, and it'll be a couple of courses. But I also want to give other people the chance to teach. And yeah, so, and I'll say, look, I really, because I actually basically don't really like saying it, so I never say please support my work. But if you find yourself here and you like what's going on, enroll in one of the courses. That's basically the best way to support the work here. You can also send me a super chat, but mind you, I think YouTube take a whopping 30% of that, plus a really terrible conversion rate. That's another thing perhaps to consider that is maybe lost on people. If you're in America and you're used to paying in dollars, I'm in the UK, maybe have a look at the exchange rate. It's pretty bleak. So never caught one of these live. You make great work, Johannes. Thank you very much. Ignis. Yeah, I don't really have the habit of sorry, let me just fix the camera, of doing live streams. Only for the courses, basically. And Ryan and I will go live on Friday. And what fascinates me about Ryan, I met him last year, is that you can find, we're surrounded by the digital world, or we immerse ourselves in it. And I don't know how old you are. The past decade and more, we've been living through this revolution already with social media. I had my first social media profile in 2005, and which of course back then was MySpace. So but either we just use it without maybe thinking too much about it, or you find the usual doom and gloom, as with Byung-Chul Han, who apparently has made it his business to basically constantly, sorry, I shouldn't split my infinitives, constantly to moan about what, quote unquote, we have lost. And he's churning out these pamphlets about, we've lost rituals, we've lost this, blah, blah, blah. And which of course is good, if you need to make money, because these books just sell quickly. But with Ryan, there's, in his notion of the via digitalis and the hyper digital, which perhaps is, hyper, whenever you add hyper, maybe that's not the greatest way of putting it, but at least you have here a genuine thinker who's deeply steeped in theology and philosophy and understands what's at stake, who's trying to articulate a way, a via, a path forward of a new destiny in this burgeoning age. And that's what really fascinated me, the way in which we found so we had dinner in London at the Oxford and Cambridge Club, I should say, in I think February or so, and we were just discussing some of his ideas and some of mine, perhaps also. And he asked if he could teach a course on that, and I said, yeah, let's throw something together. So we did. We had ideas, very quickly put together who we would, teach on, and what might be worth considering. And so over time, he's been working on this for years. So he worked off his notes and some of the papers he's published. So basically, when you're enroll, you also get, Brian's uploaded several of his own papers that were peer-reviewed academic publications. And even if you find yourself disagreeing with his work, you find here for the first time, I think, one of the first to appreciate the digital in a way that isn't just the usual doom and gloom, and points to something deeper in it that is revealed in the digital age. That it isn't just, it's not only, it's yes, it is a revolution, but it is also revealing something of old. Maybe I should put it as ominously as I just did, to entice you to take the course. So again, this awful QR code, if you scan it, will take you to straight to the seminar page, the seminar enrollment page. But if you want to take this course, in just on your own time, then this is the link to enroll. You can join us next Sunday. I hope you can, at least. If so, anyone who's just joined, because I always see people coming in and coming out, and I think this is on a couple of different channels. I think it's on Facebook, my German channel and my English channel. So apologies to the German listeners, but I think you can follow me. If you have questions, put them in the chat now, because I'm about to leave. Oh yeah, that's quite striking that you bring up Kubrick. If you look at my channel, I think you can now, they've reinstalled this. So if you now look at my oldest video, the first one is on Kubrick. I think I would have developed a bit of a different view now than I had 5 years ago when I recorded this. But nonetheless, this was the first video. We also discussed Kubrick at my Heidegger Technocracy course 1.5 years ago, I think it was. And obviously, when you come to this course, we're not just plowing through Kant and trying to make sure that we understand Hegel perfectly well, and what does Hegel mean by this, and is this proper Heideggerian speak, etc. No. If, for example, a film like Kubrick's 2001, or another one that's very interesting, collaboration between Spielberg and Kubrick, called AI, that might be a good watch. So we usually actually do film nights. So not maybe, I think, for this one because of time constraints, but any documentary, Adam Curtis's All Watched Over by Machines of Grace, or whatever it's called, that might be a great one. That's a bit of a butchered the title a bit, but yeah, you should come with films you've seen, books you've read, and also tie this together with what we're reading so that it begins to speak to you. And when you come back perhaps to a film such as 2001: A Space Odyssey, you might be able to appreciate it in a new light. And also, because Black Mirror is here mentioned by Old Hollywood Briar, I think it's a fantastic name. There's also a video. You just type in Niederhauser. There's not too many Niederhausers. You type in Niederhauser Black Mirror. One of the early videos too, which is funny to watch a few years on. there is a short lecture, about half an hour, on Heidegger and boredom, which also then goes into Black Mirror, the band Nirvana, and the 1970s film Network, which I think many will be familiar with because you all know the famous line where the news anchor man starts screaming, "I'm as mad as hell, not going to take this anymore." Yeah, so, okay. So let me know if there are more questions, maybe specifically on the course. I was just going through the chat. I'll say this again. And so if anyone's interested, because someone just asked about Seal's Chinese box, thought experiment. I don't care one way or another for thought experiments. I care for thought, because I do think that thought structures what we so benignly call reality. So what some sort of abstract thought experiment means or doesn't mean to me is meaningless. But we can forever, quibble about thought experiments, or we can actually just try to articulate thought really well so that we get to articulating Wirklichkeit, actuality, really well, which is very difficult. It's much more difficult than coming up with some sort of weird paradox. Paradoxia, means that opinion is paralyzed, or representation, the imagination is paralyzed, which it is all the time because it doesn't think. So, oh yeah, that's quite striking. I'll just leave it at that. I think, yeah, obviously it's deeply Abrahamic. It's obvious. So, and yeah, well, no, I think there's a stark difference between what you refer to here as a thought experiment, and a sort of paradox that is presented in some of the actual thought experiments. I think you're conflating what is meant here, but that's okay. Okay, so, but I agree. With you, Fizzywig. I think I remember you from some of these streams that there is definitely that thought does result in certain. Oh, always, not always, but can result in how we structure and approach the world. So, yeah, I implore you again. If you have no more questions for me, then I'd like to thank you all for listening. And I hope to see you next week, Sunday. If you're seeing this later, please just leave a comment. I'll try to respond if it's a sincere comment, not one of those ridiculous comments. Here, this is the page it leads to. So once you enroll in the seminars, you hear from us this week. You get access to all the lectures and materials straight away, obviously, but we'll be in touch via email with the Zoom link, which is obviously private. And you also get access to the Halcyon Guild forum if you'd like to participate in one of the reading groups. There's currently a reading group on Heidegger's Being in Time, which meets, I think, every week. I'm not sure, but there's also one that is on some of the texts that John Reveki is reading with his class on Beyond Nihilism. You can enroll either in the self-study tier, which means do this at your own pace, or you can join us at the group seminars, which Dr. Ryan Hecker leads. There's 6 group seminars. Or you can, if you are really serious and working on something or towards something, you think that Ryan can help you with his expertise, you can meet with Ryan 6 times also over Zoom in private dialogue sessions, but obviously he's also teaching the seminars. So, well, yeah, thank you for listening and for leaving comments. I try to read them all. I don't always respond, but there's so much I learned. Someone recently, I don't know who it is, but someone recently left a comment on here it is, The Irish Cliffs of Moher by Wallace Stevens, a poem. Which I had never heard of the poet. I'd never heard of the poem. It's a beautiful poem. I would never have known it without this fine gentleman, I suppose, Pierre, posting this here. So thank you very much for all of this. And yeah, if you thanks. I never say this, but this is unfortunately what you have to say on YouTube. You have to like and share this, which is ridiculous. But if that really does help also. And of course, also there's a Patreon page. There's a PayPal link. There's even a code for Bitcoin, which no one talks about anymore. Talking about the so-called revolution. And obviously, what we should also discuss at the course are questions of privacy, or privacy, as you say in America, of privacy, of cybersecurity, and such issues. I think should also come up as well. That okay. We'll join your course when I can get my act together. Yeah, you should. I mean, your questions are always great. So I hope that you can make it. Ryan is an excellent teacher. He's a gentleman. He's extremely erudite. He's great sense of humor. I have wonderful dinners with him, and we never tire of our discussions. And I think you'll feel the same. And he taught a couple of courses around London in this past year. I think with some of the foundations that he's involved with, and he told me that the students didn't want to leave; they just stayed longer, as long as they could, until they were basically kicked out of the place. So he's very driven. He's very enthusiastic about his project. This isn't just some good old boring academic theme. This to him I think is a life project, and it speaks. You can hear it when you hear him talk. So he's on this channel several times now, so you can just find some of the videos with him. So that might be helpful. Keep well, Johannes. So thank you, Dali. I hope you keep well too. And yeah, again, thanks for listening. And I hope to see you next week. And again, if you know anyone, just share this link with them, even if you see this afterwards. If you don't have the time for the seminars, just take the self-study option. If you do have time for the seminars, then we hope to see you next week when we try to figure out what this new age really does mean for us. We are the children of the digital, aren't we? I mean, look, Dali, as far as I know, Dali is in South Africa. She would never, we would never have known we existed without this weird, I don't even know how to put this, whatever brings us together. And also not together, right? Because there can be a certain simulated togetherness, obviously, also. And I often wonder what happens when people take the seminars, and then there's 20 people in the seminar, maybe 10 people in the seminar, maybe 40 people, depending on the course, and then they all spread out again with these weird new ideas. I'm working on a book at the moment on Humboldt, on the educational ideal, and I try to bring this ideal from Wilhelm von Humboldt to the 21st century. And one of the notions that I developed there is the earthbound cosmopolis. And so that we remain earthbound beings, while at the same time, if we think of the cosmos as a meeting place, we meet at a polis that is constantly shifting, rearranging itself, but also has a certain, needs to have a certain core at it. And so that's what I'm trying to develop also. This is so maybe I don't know if this is coming through now, but the entire project here, this is not, I'm not producing content for you to entertain yourself with philosophy. I'm trying to build, not construct, but build, think, and perhaps also dwell, to paraphrase Heidegger. So to cultivate, or to learn ways, or develop ways, that could let us, that can help us to cultivate ways. And that, of course, to come back to Dali's question from before, that, of course, contributes to genuine mental health, right? To health of the mind. We should understand this word, this notion again, as what it is: mental health, not mental problems, but health. We need to be healthy and not dwell on of the issues. I think there's something to be said for active forgetting and active disregard for some of the things that are perhaps overblown in our time. Well, I'm of course too humble to agree with you, but I do agree with you. So thank you very much indeed. And I hope to see you very soon. I actually stayed much longer than I wanted to stay, but why not? There's always a good people here. So good night, or good day to you wherever you are. I don't really know who you are, but maybe we'll find out at some time. I shall retire.